Melons, a staple of summer eating, summer dishes. The reason that is because they come on in the summer. That's when they're the best. Now with our grocery system the way it is now and our food system, we can actually get them from all around the world at all different types of year, but they're always the best when they're local and they're in the summertime. So how do we tell what a good melon is? Well, things like cantaloupe, honeydew, and Santa Claus, cassava, things that you're seeing in the grocery store more now, you can actually tell from the sight and also the smell. So you'll notice on this, it's a nice yellow color. It's very bright, there's no green to it. We don't want any green when it comes to these cantaloupe and honeydews and things like that. We want a nice bright yellow color. You're also going to be able to smell it. This smells very fruity. Okay, I have to kind of get right up to it and smell it. But if you have a very ripe cantaloupe, say sitting in your house and you leave for a few hours, when you come back, you'll be able to smell it because it will emit that aroma. Now, watermelon's a little bit different story because you can't really smell a watermelon. Two ways to tell with a watermelon. Number one, when you tap it, you should be able to hear kind of a PVC pipe type sound. So when you hit it, should sound kind of hollow. The other thing is that may not always be a good indication. So what you'll do is you'll roll it over, and the spot where it's been laying in the dirt, you want to make sure is nice and yellow. Okay? If it's white, that means it's not quite ripe yet. When it's nice and yellow, that means it's perfect. Okay? The thing about watermelon and the thing about cantaloupe also is that we can break them down exactly the same. We can take the skins off and get the nice flesh out the same manner. The only problem is that the watermelon is quite a bit bigger. So what I like to do is we'll start with our cantaloupe. We'll take the top off. We'll take the bottom off. And then at this point, you can see it's got a little bit of green on the interior here, but a nice orange flesh on the inside. So I like to take the skin off here first. So I'll just kind of follow the natural shape of it, go all the way around. And as I'm going around here, I kind of will cut in a little bit to the side that I've already cut to ensure that I don't have any green left. So we'll cut all the way around here. And as we cut around, then we get rid of that nasty skin. Once again, this is one of those things that you definitely want to wash before you start cutting anything. So we'll take our last little bits off the bottom here. Kind of scoot all that over. And then we'll have our interior. Now the interior, I'll cut it in half there and you'll see those nice seeds. You just grab a spoon, kind of scoop those out, and you have perfect usable cantaloupe or honeydew or anything along those lines. Now with a watermelon, it's a little different because the watermelon, like we talked about before, is a little bigger, but also because it doesn't have that interior cavity of seeds. The seeds are spread throughout. So what I like to do is I actually like to cut the watermelons in half first. Because if I cut it in half, then I have less to work with, which means that I'm not going to be spilling all over the place and it's not going to be rolling all over the counter. So I'll cut it in half. Here's my flat surface here. Then I'll cut the top off. Now when you cut into a watermelon, if it's ripe, you should immediately be able to smell it. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll cut down the sides here, just like we did with the cantaloupe or any other melon. And it's easier too because you have a nice flat surface. You don't have to do that little curve at the end. You just kind of start out with a curve at the top, go straight down into the counter. A lot of people will also do watermelons with the rind on, because it's a lot easier for you to hold, especially if you're out at the park or something. At this point, I can either turn it on its side right here and cut it like this, which is kind of what I like to do. We'll just cut it down a few times. And then I'll go right back to piling it up, stacking it just the way I cut it, and then cutting down the sides, and then turning it and cutting down this side. Now at this point, I have watermelon that's been cut into the nice sizable chunks there that's ready to eat. instead of, I used to watch my mom do this over the counter sink, and she would take her like 2 hours. And so when I showed I could do a watermelon in like 5 minutes, she was blown away. Okay, if you're doing it with the rind still on, then all you're going to need to do is just cut thin little strips. So I'll take the point of the knife and stab it in first, so I make that puncture, and then just kind of follow it around, just like I did when I cut it in half. Okay, and then we can just cut it up into whatever sizes or shapes that we want. You can do it into quarters, we can cut it in half, whatever you'd like. Just remember with melons that they're the best when they're in season, which is usually during the summer of your area, and also that they're the best when they're stored right. So make sure that if you're holding it for a few days, that you store it in a cooler temperature area, maybe in a basement or even in a fridge. Something that will keep the temperature lower, because as soon as that melon is picked, it starts to deteriorate. And you don't know how long it's been sitting in the store. So store it right, get it in season, and you'll be good to go.